Hey there, Coach back at you. Well, if you're a subscriber to this on YouTube, you'll know that we do a lot of analyzing of some of the top discus throwers in the world. But what we're going to do is make a video for the person who's never touched a discus before. So this is for the beginning thrower, maybe a master's level athlete, or maybe it's just the middle school or high schooler that's never touched a discus before. Certainly will be a good video for those beginning coaches as well to this event. So we'll look at the grip on the discus, we'll look at a standing throw, we'll go to a half turn and a full turn. Now let's go to the grip. All right, the discus. How do we grip the discus? That's a very important question, and it's a really important component of throwing the discus, because if you're not holding it right, it won't fly right. And this is an aerodynamic device, and if we're not throwing it properly through the air, it's just not going to go the distances that you want it to do. So I'm going to come closer to the camera to give you a closer look at how we hold this, okay? Now, just as we are looking at the discus comes obviously in different sizes in weight, and depending on your gender and of course your age will determine what size you will actually throw. If you're looking at it from a school lens, you probably will need to consult your local school athletic federation to get the appropriate size and weight. Now for the IAAF, the International Sport Governing Body, it's fairly consistent through various age groups, starting with youth through to the senior level. All right, so how do we hold this thing? Yes, very, very important. Okay, I see a lot of incorrect ways of holding this discus, and as a coach, it bothers me. I want to jump in and kind of correct all the time. But anyway, let's have a look here. I'll be honest with you, I use the first digits of my finger really are dominant in throwing the discus, okay? So what I'm going to do is use about 60% of the discus. It's not down the middle and it's not over like this. I actually come straight through here, about 60% of that discus, and I'll grip it right there. You'll notice what it looks like edge on from that perspective, from the camera perspective. So it looks like this. Some people go out too far, use the tips of their finger. No, don't do that. And don't go in here like this. But no, folks, you'll drive your coach crazy. Bring it right into that first digit, just slightly in there as you can see. And the second finger rests in there, and the thumb is resting there for support as far as balance is concerned when we place it beside our hip before we start the throw. Centripetal force will keep it in once we get this moving, gang. That's the important factor here when we're throwing this discus. So don't give up on it. It won't fall out once we get this thing moving. Okay, so we know we have to have it here in the hand throwing the discus. So this is the way I would hold it, and this is what I would advocate is the proper grip throwing the discus. Okay, so now let's go over and show you where our stance is over at the circle and getting in a nice strong throwing standing position. It's a beautiful night here. Hear the frogs in the background. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to set up in a power position or in a standing throw position. Okay. So if we know how to hold the discus now, I would advocate we need to be in this particular way facing the throwing sector. You'll notice I have the discus down by my side, and that's a really good starting point. What we're going to do now is we're going to offset our feet. If you looked at our shot put video, you'll notice we're set up the very same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a close-up shot to have a look at our feet and the proper foot placement before we throw the discus. Okay, it doesn't really matter where you're in the circle. I'm just going to start near the front of the circle to show you the proper foot placement for our standing throw and discus. So put your feet together like this, okay? Now I'm a right-handed thrower, so this is my left foot here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back a step, a little more than half a step here. And that's our offset. So in other words, I'm going to create a separation between my 2 feet. So I'm going to take my right leg and I'm just going to drop it back here, and I'm maintaining that same position. I'm just going to put my left foot forward. So now I have that separation. Let's just show that again. Here's that separation. I'm just going to make that separation. Now why am I offsetting the feet? It's really critically important because in the discus throw, this action is required in order to throw. So what we want to do is we want to turn that foot, and when you notice we're on the ball of our foot here on that back right leg, really critical for the right-handed thrower. We want that mobility and movement in this event, big time. So what we want to do is to make sure you maintain that. And you're asking yourself, why do I need to offset my feet? Well, you need to allow yourself to open your hips up to the throwing sector. So it's a nice strong position. Clearly, if you have your foot over here and you try to turn, you're blocking yourself off from making that turn. So this is why we're offset in this particular way. Now what I'm going to get you to do now is you're going to stay on the ball of the foot and we're going to make a little weight transfer. Try to put a lot of weight on that back right leg. Okay, so that's how the feet are established in the circle to do a standing throw. That's a beautiful night. Got the frogs in the background. It's awesome. Great evening. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to discus. All right, now you know your proper foot position, right? You have to be offset, slightly more than shoulder width apart. Our weight's going to be on our back right toe or ball of foot. That will give us the opportunity to make that all-important turn at the beginning of the throw. So the action, let's just review the action of the standing throw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn my ball of my foot, which turns my knee, then the hip, then it comes my core. I'm going to use my left arm to open up really the upper body to allow those muscles to be used, and then the discus comes through. So the question is, a lot of people have, and I see this a lot of young throwers will release the discus not properly. They'll actually come out the back. This is a common mistake with young throwers. They think that they're flicking it out the back, pinky side. No. It comes out the front. So that pointing finger is really where a lot of the action happens. It's going to come out of the front of the hand. Okay? So it's like if you were going to bowl it, it comes out the front of the hand. So let's show you what's going to happen here in order for a beginning thrower to be successful. So all the weight's going to be on the back foot, or most of it. And then what you're going to do is they're always concerned about the flighting of the discus, which is important. What I would suggest is this, and it's just for the beginning thrower. As they mature as a thrower, they can get rid of it. But just to get them the confidence build up, what I want you to do is they're holding the discus, ask them to catch it in their left hand. Now this is for the right-handed thrower. Ask them to catch it in their left hand. You'll notice the placement of the discus. You know that it's not like this coming out of their hand, like they're not catching it this way. They're catching it so it's flat, so that they can initiate the throw this way. So what I would suggest, just as a beginning in the standing throw, is just to get them to catch it once, get this little dance going here, right? So we're going to initiate from the bottom, the surface, the foot, to turn the knee, to turn the hip, to turn the torso, open the door, and then throw the discus. Remember to keep that left side as a blocking left side. In all our throwing events, we have a blocking left side for the right-handed thrower and the opposite, obviously, for our southpaws. So what is that going to look like? Let's just have a look. Now remember, we're just graduating slowly in the standing throw. So here's what it looks like. So we're just going to ask you to catch it in your left hand. Look at my feet. Okay, now catch. Now I'm just going to throw it. Watch. When I feel comfortable, there we go. That's a basic standing throw. There's a bit more to it, but that's a basic standing throw. You got an athlete that feels comfortable at the front? Awesome. Let's move it back to a half a turn, or what's called the South African internationally speaking. So let's have a look at what we need to do a half turn. All right, so what I'm going to get you to do is this. Take your right foot, take it out of the circle, just for the purposes of this drill. And now what we're going to do is we're basically taking 2 steps, right, to the front of the circle. That's all we're doing. So what we're going to do is take this right leg and we're going to go to the near center of the circle. The critical point here is this. It's not stepping there. I actually want to go to the center of the circle, but my toe on the ball of my foot pointing in towards the back of the circle. So yes, I got to turn it 180 degrees. And the easiest way to do this is to kind of jump into that spot. Jump's a really strong word, but we want to move there so we can turn the foot back there on the ball of foot. Now remember, and here's the top secret information. When you make that commitment to the middle of the circle, that foot never stops turning. Yeah, you heard it here first. Right foot hits the middle of the circle and never stops turning. Let's have a look at that, and I'll bring the camera over a little bit closer and you can have a look at that. But let's have a look at what that South African or that half turn looks like. Now there's many variations on this, but this is just one of them. So what I'm going to do is this. Come forward, I'm going to make a commitment, turn, put my left foot at the front of the circle. Watch this. Did you see that? Nice turn in here. Look at this. Hey, power position, ready to throw the discus. Seems simple, takes a lot of practice, but it's really, really important. Let me show you one more time. You'll notice my discus is down here. I'm not throwing yet. I just want to get my feet right, and then I can go to my throw. So I'm going to make a commitment. Right, keep turning left. I'm in that power position now. I'm ready to throw the discus. That's kind of the add-on from the standing throw, power position, to the half throw there. Let's get a closer look at what that looks like from a little bit closer on the feet, because that's all important before we throw it full. That's the action. Now you're in that. Look at that. Just make that turn and throw the discus. If you can do that and practice that, I'm going to tell you, you'll throw it farther than you've ever thrown it before. It's a really critical component of the discus. Okay, let's put everything together. Let's put that kind of South African together, half turn, into a standing position and throw. One thing I'll just add, because we kind of know the footwork, the question is where should my discus be? And that's a really important question, and one that is quite often forgotten by a lot of coaches and young people. What is the path of the discus in that South African or that half turn throw? And you'll notice I have it by my hip, but I'm going to show you what it looks like in space if I just kind of take you through the progression here. So I want it down by my hip here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to address the discus, and I'm just going to hold it so you can see it. I'm going to address the discus a little bit higher in the front of the circle. So when I make my turn in here, the discus is in this position. When I continue to throw, that path of the discus will come lower here. Then it's just like that nice 42 to 43 degree angle throw for most throwers. It might be even a little bit shallower, 39 and up. 39 to 44 is about where it is. So we come through here, and that's the action. So let's show you that one more time. I'm in here. I'm going to address the discus up here. I'm getting into this position. I'm coming through. It's coming through down here low, and then I'm going to release the discus nice and high here. And that's the progression of that discus. Let's have a look at it, kind of full speed here, or we'll slow it down a little bit. So remember, turn, 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 turn in the middle. Easy peasy. The full throw. What does that look like? And how do you marry all those components together? Well, if we know what the standing throw is, position, we know what the South African kind of looks like. You'll notice that I took my right foot out. You're saying, well, coach, what's the full throw look like? Really, it's not that complex. Watch this. Okay, I'm ready. That's it. That's the full. So what you're asking, do quarter turn, go down the middle of the circle, and throw the discus. So you can see here, what I'd like you to do is to divide the circle right down the middle, separate your feet right on either side, and what you're going to do is simply this. Take the discus back. I call it addressing the discus. You just get a nice range of motion. I call it lock and loaded. So I'm loaded here, and as I make my turn, I'm turning this left leg in the direction of the throw. Look at my foot. I'm going to turn it in the direction of the throw. And at that point, folks, I'm in the South African move. I just got to go right down the middle and throw it. Boom, boom. I'm ready to go. Boom, boom. That's it. So really three important pieces. Standing throw, half turn, South African. Again, there's many different ways you can do that one. I see people starting with their foot this way and going to the front. I see it all. But just think about this. All I got to do, back to the throwing area, discus here. We know the orbit has to be low in the back, high in the front. So it looks something like this. I'll just slow it down. So I'm going to take the discus, make that nice rotation here. I'm going to be up, and then I'm going straight down the left sector line for the right-handed thrower. And I'm going to jump in here, turn, 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 and throw the discus. The full throw. Let's have a look at it, see if you can do it. Okay, so here we go. Right throw, nice and easy. Lock and load it. Turn, 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 throw. Not bad for the old guy. Anyway, that's how you throw the discus. Listen, review it, go back, have a look at the finer points. If you have any questions, down at the bottom or comments, we'd like to hear from you. Hope you throw far and have a great season.